My sister was like, so are you gonna read fanfiction now? And I was like, what do you mean? But look where I am. I need therapy, actually, but fanfiction is free. Hi friends, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. I know that from the title of the video you know that this video isn't about dramione recommendation. So if you guys come to my channel for dramione content only, please feel free to exit out this video, but you're welcome to stay, and I am so grateful for your unwavering support watching my video without it being about dramione. But I just fear that without a context you may not be able to really comprehend half of the things that I say in this video. But with that being said though, I actually learned a lot more about fanfiction as a whole now that I kind of taken myself out of the ship and into the fanfiction itself. And I used to think that I like a dramione detail because it is dramione, but now that I have more experience with more than just dramione, I like the detail itself. And there are just a lot of parallel and a lot of things that I relate to dramione. So if you wanted to stay, feel free to. In the last video that I upload, I said this: I have been binge reading Jujutsu Kaisen chapter after chapters for a couple weeks now. If you guys are any familiar with Jujutsu Kaisen at all, whether it's the manga or the anime, I think that you would agree with me when I say that the timeline of Jujutsu Kaisen, or what I would like to call the spine of the story, is heavily influenced by the relationship and the choices that Gojo and Geto made. And now, if you guys are any familiar with the storyline, you guys will know that everything about the relationship, I said everything, and I mean it, everything about the relationship just screamed tragic and bittersweet and angst to me. I did the only thing that I am familiar with. I did the only thing, which is retreating to my safe space and turn to fanfiction to cope. And now if you're into Jujutsu Kaisen, you know I just had a rough motherfucking week. And so I cope even harder, which means that I bury myself into the satosugu, the warm spring, the 725, whatever you want to call that ship, fanfictions. And so in today's video, being the fanfiction reader that I am, I'm going to dissect this satosugu warm spring ship with you guys, tell you guys why I like them so much, and also give you guys some recommendations, some very great piece of work that I have encountered in the short amount of time that I spent in this fandom, okay? Why do I like satosugu warm spring so much? I think that the reason why I like them so much and I'm just so immersed in this work is because they are a mixture of things that I am not familiar with, things that kind of give me that refreshing wind, refreshing air into my fanfiction reading career, but at the same time they carry details that I am so in love with in the dramione fandom. A mixture of new things but also homey things, things that I am so in love with already, new adventures to follow, but also kind of like a safe space that I already know what to expect. I am just knee deep into this rabbit hole, you guys. Like, I am just so deranged. The first thing that plunged me right into this ship is also the thing that's completely opposite to dramione. If you guys think that enemy to lover is angsty, satosugu is the opposite, lover to enemy. I know that there are a lot of ways that people perceive the relationship between Gojo and Geto. You may think that they are just best friends, they're just two dudes. You may think that they are platonic soulmate, or you may even think that they are lovers, or you may even think that they are soulmate. No matter how you perceive the relationship between them, you have to agree that they means the world to each other. It's almost like their world spun around the other person. The evidence of that are platter all over the manga, all over the anime. The reason why Gojo is where he is right now in the anime is the direct result of how much Geto means to him, because he has an Achilles heel that he was taken advantage of, and it wouldn't have happened if Geto doesn't mean how much he meant. Just imagine the person who meant the universe to you, who your whole world spun around, ended up on the opposite war zone from you, and you are assigned their execution. You have to kill them with your own two hands and then seeing them being used by evil. Can you imagine the angst that it screamed? I'm just dead. There is no way that I won't seek out fanfiction after just to heal my heart. I need therapy, actually, but fanfiction is free. I feel like Gojo also has this tremendous expectation placed on his shoulder from a very young age just because of the power that he holds. Having your best friend right beside you feels like that pressure is shared a little bit, and now you have another pair of shoulders to carry that load with you. So when Suguru exits his life, I feel like Gojo world also crumble with it as well, because of this weight that is pressing down on him, and now he doesn't really have anybody to share that load with anymore. So empathize with this character, and I wish him all the best. We all know what happened. We don't need to talk about that today. And so for me, someone who never really seek out angst in the dramione fandom, I always want to assure that there is a happy ending coming for my lovebirds, and no matter the angsty journey, I can take that as long as they have a happy ending at the end. But with satosugu, they don't have that happy ending, which is something that is entirely new to me, something that I've never really stepped out of my comfort zone to go into. So it's just like my whole world getting expanded a little bit, my horizon getting a little bit further away from me a little bit. Secondly, let's talk about like the things that I'm familiar with, because if you guys are familiar with Dramione, we have already talked about the Draco and the Hermione, the significance of their name, like a million times on this channel before. And we Dramione fans usually think about the Draco and the Hermione as like the essence of their relationship, and whenever they Draco and Hermione each other, they are moving on to a stage that they'll never be able to go back from. The name thing with satosugu is, to me, on another level from Draco and Hermione. You know how Suguru say Satoru, and you know how hard it is for us to listening to all the time that he says Satoru. Compare that to the newest Satoru, or like the latest Satoru that we got to see from the anime. See how different that Satoru was from all the other Satoru before that. So the name thing is also in this ship, and they are also like the essence of that relationship. It's like I reserve my name for you and you only. It's like my tempo. Whenever I hear you say my name, I'm on my knees type of thing. I just felt like that hit a little bit too close to home for me. And the next thing is that I've always said in my video lately that I am a show don't tell type of girl. So I want to see your action, your physical touch, your acts of service. I feel like this ship is the epitome of that show don't tell for me, because the way that they care for each other a little bit too close to home once again. And so I feel like even though this ship is full of things that I have never experienced before because I'm too chicken, it's also things that are so homemade, are so familiar, and hit so close to home for me. And that's why I am in the deranged state that I am today. Let me tell you, this is the amount of fic that I read last week, starting last Sunday, because that's the day that I started reading my first one. Most of the fic I read here are one-shots, and I feel like that's the most common length when it comes to satosugu fanfic. So it's very easy for me to test the water. It's super easy for me to just read one after another, get experience with so many great stories, get immersed into so many timelines at once. So I am just like a happy child the past week. Not really, I was depressed half the time, but you know, like before everything that happened, I was a little bit happy for a little bit. So one thing that made me so in love with satosugu is that I think that there are a lot more fic which touch me. After I finished reading The Song of Achilles, I also went into AO3, burying myself into Patroclus and Achilles fanfiction as well, but it didn't give me the same gratification as it did with satosugu. And the work that I read the past week is also among probably the best work that I have read ever since I started reading fanfiction. So I wanted to share them with you guys regardless of the ship, because the quality of work that I found are just amazing. And so let's start with the recommendation for today. My favorite thing that I have read with satosugu was Slow Rush by Gravitational. So in this story, the author isn't very clear with what happened like prior to the start of the story, but my assumption is that Suguru took control back of his body from Kenjaku and released Satoru from the box. The story started after that, when Suguru is on a house arrest, and the house that he has to be arrested in is Satoru's. And I don't really want to go into too much details with these one-shots, because I feel like the story are for you guys to experience, because they are short. And if I say too much, I'm gonna take away the whole story from you guys. This is my favorite depiction of Satoru and Suguru in the whole some 10-20 fics that I have read the past week. I feel like it doesn't make sense for them to be cheery or happy. There has to be a certain degree of mellow or melancholy in their relationship, and I feel like this author just did a perfect job. And every details in this story is so masterfully written that they don't have to say a lot to tell us how much the other person means to each other. Their action, how they approach each other, how they coexist in that space together, say so much about their feelings, say so much about their love for each other, and I am just melted into a puddle. This is one of those stories, one of those pieces of gold that I will always treasure in my heart. The next story that I love so much is called On December by Chuyasu. This is a very short story. It's under 2,000 words long, and it's set 2 years after Geto left. So Suguru is spending his birthday alone in December when he got an unexpected visit from somebody. We all know how that goes. We all know the tension. We all know the push and pull that they have for each other. But in that small moment that they share with each other, in that small conversation that they had. To me, it seems like the whole world faded away and nothing has happened between them, but everything has happened between them. A super bittersweet like this expectation of their relationship, which I feel like capture the essence of their relationship really well. It's so angsty. I cannot say it make me feel so good, but I had a good time reading these stories and I will remember them forever. The next story that I really like is called In the Eye of the Dragonfly by Backbones. This is an ABO story. The story is set back in the Heian period with the essence of the Jujutsu War in it, and their love in this story is also that melancholy, that soft touches that barely say anything but it is so big type of love. The perfect expectation of Gojo for me in this story. The perfect expectation of Geto for me in this story as well. My heart swelled. The next story that I really like is one that I actually just read this morning, and that's why it's not in my journal. But it is called All That Blue by I Love Geto Suguru. This story is an alternative universe story, of course, where Geto made another choice on that day and he adopted the two girls instead, and they get to build a future together. This story, I would say, is a series of vignette or like that snippet format, which I am just so in love with, and I think that just, you know, intensify my love for this story. Another thing that I really like with All Blue is the presence of the other characters in the story. First is Soko, and I just love when story bring in Soko because I feel like they are a trio, and Soko herself said to Gojo that I was there for you too. What do you mean you only have one best friend? So I just love when Gojo kind of consults Soko on matters that related to Geto. In the story, we also get to see Nanami, Haibara, Mei, Utahime, and of course the kids, Geto kids and Gojo kids, and they make a family. And so I'm just so swooned, and this story is perfect. This story is just a small door of happiness, written so beautifully, so masterfully. This is also one of the stories that I instantly go back and reread the whole thing after I finish reading it for the first time because of just how good it made me feel. So if you guys want a fix it happy ending story, I would say start with this one before you go into the other angsty story, because there are just a lot more angsty story with satosugu than there are happy ending story. But this is just a gem that is so well written and so well developed that I am just so in love with. The next story that I read made me cry, and I say this because there are not many dramione stories that made me cry before. So if this new ship that I just entered has a story that made me cry, I feel like I should mention it, and that is Press 9 to Delete This Message by Mori Tourism. I would like to categorize this story as an epistolary because the whole story is written in voicemail format. It's not a happy ending, it made me cry, but at the same time it's portrayed their relationship development from the day that they first met each other to everything that has transpired between them and everything that happened. In the end, it broke my heart, it made me cry, but I feel like it's essential reading because it just portrayed that dynamic of their relationship so well, and I want to just weep. The last story that I want to recommend to you guys is also one that I just read this morning, and it is also the longest fic that I have read with satosugu, and it is called Nanako by C. Lies. I think that's how you pronounce the author name, but I'm sorry if I have butchered it. This story is a 4-chapter story told from Nanako's point of view, which is also one of the things that I really cherish. I really like to read story when it's told from like another person's point of view that's not like the main characters. The focus of the story is on Geto love life, and even though Gojo and Geto is only relationship is only mentioned in like one of the chapters, it makes all the difference, and it's also fill in the blank for me within those 10 years that they don't talk to each other. Even though so much has happened, the other person is still your universe, so you cannot give up on them that easily. And this story is kind of like the manifestation of that idea for me. It's like the loudest story to say that I still care about you, I respect your choice, but I will still be here making sure that you are safe, making sure that I will come in to protect you if there's anything that ever happened to you. That broke me, okay? This is also not one of those happy ending story, but I also feel like it's very essential. I'm just forever grateful that I found and read this story. That's the end of this video, and I know that this video is more for my sake than for you, and I hope that if you ever stumble upon this video because you are looking for satosugu content, that you have some fanfic material to help you cope, because we all need it after this week. And so I hope you guys have a good time hanging out with me today, and if this is your first time, hello, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you. Bye.